Welcome back to Season 2 of our 6th grade math. And Season 2, I promise you, is very bingeable. We're going to be dealing with integers. So in this first lesson, Lesson 2-1, that's Topic 2, Lesson 1, we're going to be just introducing the idea of integers and what they are. Integers are just basically whole numbers. And you've started with integers way back when you started to count in first grade. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No fractions, no decimals, on and on. But, what makes this 6th grade math? Well, integers also include negative numbers. -1, -2, -3, -4, and so on and so forth. Let's look at this on the number line. The first thing to understand is 0. 0 is not positive, nor is it negative. It's just 0. 0 usually is a reference point when we're applying integers to the real world. As I go to the right, my values increase in a positive direction. And this can go on forever and ever and ever. If I go to the left, I decrease in a negative direction forever and ever and ever. It's important to remember, just like when you had the positive part of the number line, the further to the left you go, the smaller the number, or lesser, I should say. And the further to the right, the greater the number. Well, what are these negative numbers, you might ask? Well, negative numbers are used lots of places in the real world. So for instance, we can talk about elevation above and below sea level. Sea level would be 0. If you're below it, if you're underwater, you're negative. If you're above it, you're positive. Most of the land we live on is above sea level. Mountains get even higher. Planes fly even higher. Here in the Northeast, we deal with negative temperatures. 0 is a temperature we are all familiar with here in South Glens Falls. And as it gets colder and colder and colder, it goes more and more negative in temperature. It's fall here, and fall's football time. And for those of you who are fans of football, you know that a play could result in negative yards. That is, you start at the line of scrimmage, which is 0, and you end up losing yards, negative yardage. And everybody loves rockets. And for the countdown, we start with T minus 10,
10,
minus 9, 8,
9,
7, 6, and so
8,
on.
7,
And that's the time
6,
to
5,
take off, which
4,
is 0.
3,
And then we don't
2,
really talk about the
1,
T positive direction,
0.
but we have the time after the rocket takes off. Now let's talk about the term opposites. Opposite numbers are on opposite sides of 0. So the opposite of -2 is +2. The opposite of -4 is +4. They are equidistant from 0. Basically, you're just changing the sign. The opposite of 100 is a -100, and it's that easy. First question, it asked, what is the opposite temperature from that shown on the thermometer? Well, here is 0, and as we go down, we're going negative. Here's -10, and we have 5 increments. That means each increment is 2 degrees. So there's 2, 4, 6. So this is a -6 degrees. They don't really give us units. Could be Fahrenheit, could be Celsius, I don't know. Well, the opposite of -6 is 6. And it's that easy. Okay, in this first part, they're asking you to label the integers, that's whole numbers, on the number line. I'd like you to do that. And then I'd like you to write what the opposite of 4 is. And then what is the opposite of -4? Go ahead and fill that in. We'll go over that in class. Okay, I'd like to take a short break now to talk about an issue that is so very important to me, and I'm sure is also very important to you. just like you did way back when with positive integers, we can put all the integers in order from least to greatest or greatest to least. We must pay attention to what the wording is. So Riley recorded temperatures for 5 days in January. We want to know which was the coldest day, the warmest day, and we want to list the temperatures from least to greatest. In this case, the number line is going to help us out. So let's put these temperatures on the number line. All right, I've labeled all the points on my number line. And before I get going, it's important to remember that the further to the right I go, the greater it gets. And the further to the left, the smaller it gets. To go ahead and list these from least to greatest, we have to be careful. I have to start with the furthest to the left, the smallest, a -5. Then I have this -3. Then I have a -2. Then I have a 1. And then I have a 4. And that's listed from least to greatest. The coldest day is going to be -5. And the warmest day is going to be 4. Okay. So we do, as we said before, use integers to represent real-world things. And in this case, we're using it to deal with elevation and water depth. And we have an airplane up here. And it looks like the integer 10,000 feet, maybe, is representing the height of the airplane above sea level. Sea level is 0. Okay. And then we have this orca whale down here at -10,000. Unlikely. I looked it up. The greatest recorded ever for a whale was 850 feet below sea level. But anyway, the integer that would represent the whale in this picture is a -10,000. 0 is sea level, and the integer for the airplane is 10,000. Let's look at a couple situations. The first situation, you have a $10 debt. That means you owe 10 bucks. Well, 0 would be having no money at all. That's what 0 is. And if you had lots of money, that'd be positive. But if you owed it, you'd be in the negative. So that would be a -10. 6 degrees below 0, well, we know that around here, that's a -6. Now, if you add $25, you make a deposit. That means you're putting it in the bank. That would be a +25. Now, I could put a plus in front of it for positive, but usually we just don't write anything, and it's assumed to be positive. All right, we got some straight up practice here. We need to write the opposites of the integers that are listed there in A, B, and C. And then we're going to write some integers in order from least to greatest. Well, I hope you enjoyed. Welcome back, and we'll see you next time.